EmpowerPlan podcast. I am Nadine McCabe and I am the founder of EmpowerPlan, which is a corporate wellbeing service provider for employees. Now, we're very unique in the services that we offer because we offer rapid transformational therapy extensively throughout our services, which is a hybrid therapy method and is designed to bring very rapid results, long-lasting results for clients. So rapid transformational therapy is incorporated in all of our webinars and our workshops for all the employees, and the employees get access to a whole library of resources in the members platform. I myself am qualified in rapid transformational therapy and I'm also a clinical hypnotherapist. Today, I've got with me the wonderful Samira, who is one of our counsellors who has agreed to come in and talk to us today about talking to children about war. So Samira, welcome. And would you like to tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, about your experience and your current practice?
Hello guys, I'm Samira, so I'm the director of Feel-Free Psychotherapy and I'm a child and adult psychotherapist, and I'm qualified in integrated clinical psychotherapy, and I've been doing this since 2017. So I work with children and adults, but I mainly work with children. Yep.
Very good. So it must be very rewarding working with children, Samira, and I understand it must there must have been a bit of an increase in terms of the need of your services of late. I know we felt a bit of an increase in terms of the inquiries regarding our employees, children, for counselling services over the last year or so. So would you say you felt that too, that increase in the need for therapy services with young people?
I definitely feel that there was a definite increase, and this is even before this whole war. COVID happened as well, and that saw a massive increase in children, young people wanting therapy, as little as even wanting to go outside and actually being around people and being around even their own family members. Some children had really high anxiety of either getting the virus or passing it on or causing a death in their family or being the cause of someone dying, or just that that um that fear really in them, and that anxiety of what could happen, or if this happened, or what if. So there was definitely an increase in children accessing counselling services.
Yeah. And I suppose for a lot of adults, they might not really know or understand what their children are feeling until they start to notice behavioural changes in them, rather than a child coming up and say, I feel anxious about this. They wouldn't really know what terminology to use about their emotions, would they?
No, not at all. And sometimes children don't even have an understanding of their own feelings, and actually sometimes that feeling might be the first time they're actually really feeling it. So it could be a combination of both not having the actual words for it, or not even having an understanding of what this feeling actually is. So sometimes parents actually just listening and just actually, okay, if explain it to, does it represent your favorite character on a TV program, or does it represent a color, or is it your favorite book, or can you tell me a character that reminds you of this feeling, so you can get a better understanding of that child might be feeling about. Because sometimes they don't have the words for it, or they don't have the understanding, but they can relate to certain things easier and certain experiences and situation and people, even family members as well. Does it feel like, I don't know, grandma, when grandma is having a lazy day and she doesn't want to do anything and she's feeling like not cooking for the family or something like that? Make it fun and make it creative and relate it to the child and
Yeah.
that experience.
That's such a great tip there, Samira, to be honest, to sort of relate it to stories and experiences and try and connect their feelings with things that they may have seen in stories or in real life with other people that they know. That's such a great way of trying to get information from the child
Basically,
about their feelings.
and also for you to have understanding what that could be like, because all it takes a quick Google,
Yeah.
or if you don't understand what they're speaking about, because there's so many programs, so many things on right now. But okay, 1 second, Google it quick. Oh, okay. Well, then you can go into more details of that child. Okay, what does that look like? What does that feel like? Okay, it doesn't have to be words. It could be in letters. It can be pictures. It can be in drawing. And
Yeah.
children are very creative, and sometimes words can be quite hard to hear and even speak, especially to parents as well.
Yeah, very much so. So, in terms of the war that's going on at the moment, we know the media coverage seems to have slowed down a bit. I don't know whether you've noticed
Mhm.
yourself, but when the conflict first began, there was a lot of media coverage. We were hearing about it constantly, and it seems to have died down a little bit now. But at the start of the conflict, when all that media was going on, even like my husband, he was wanting to listen to the radio. We don't normally listen to the radio all day, but he wanted it on just to keep apprised of the situation.
Mhm.
Um, but he began, after a week or so of that going on, he began to feel anxious and
Mhm.
concerned over how involved the UK would become in the conflict. And you start to, those anxieties start to set in for the adults. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, adults were feeling a certain way and very anxious over the conflict, and that must have transpired and been passed down into some children as well.
Mhm.
So, I mean, some children, some families or individuals may find that this conflict is a reminder of past trauma that they've already had. So it may trigger things for some families or individuals. Um, what other things do you think might be going on with adults with regards to this conflict?
I think for adults, it might be the fear of, do are my children going to be affected by this? Am I going to be affected by this, losing certain, or even having family members in Ukraine and actually being
Mm,
worried about them, or even not having understanding where they're at, having maybe PTSD with this in regards to, losing someone, because a lot of people lost someone during the COVID period. This
mm,
could trigger certain feelings and emotions that they might not even have dealt with during the COVID and during the pandemic.
yeah,
It can cause anxiety, depression, because it's like, we've just went through one global trauma, so it's like now we're going through the next trauma. It's just almost like, oh, is there any hope for humanity? Not just that, but they're talking about, the global warming and how the nature's being affected by so many different things. So there's just a lot of negativity in the news right now. So it can, depression, anxiety, worry, confidence issue as well,
mm,
trust, lack of trust in our government and our
yeah,
peers. It's just a lot of this. It can just arise a lot of emotions. I think it's
yeah,
just all round. I think no one should feel invalid of how they're feeling.
yeah,
No one should feel invalid if they're feeling confused, even if they're feeling unsure, uncertain. I feel like, there's a lot of things going around, there's a lot of news going around. You don't really know who to listen to, what to listen to, who to trust. So there's a lot of things going around right now. So don't, all your feelings are valid.
yeah.
It's about talking to family and friends.
There'll be a lot of worry and concern over financial issues as well for
Mhm.
families. Obviously, the conflict has caused higher prices in terms of fuel, and energy prices have gone through the roof. Families were already struggling post-pandemic. Cost of living is very high as it is, so a lot of families now are going to be struggling even more than they were before. So that on top of all the safety issues and anxiety that's building up regarding the conflict, they may also have on top of that financial
Nice.
concerns, which is obviously adding to that for adults as
Yeah,
well. I suppose there's might be a feeling of helplessness coming into it because
definitely.
we can't do anything about it. We've literally just got to ride it through.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and maybe sort of separation worries, things like that. If you're seeing all these families that are being separated,
Very true.
the men are having to go off to war, and how are our men in the UK feeling? Are they worried that they're going to have to go to war?
Mhm.
There's so much involved in it, isn't
So
there?
much involved, and that's why I said that, all the feelings is valid. Like you said already, we've listed so many things, and there's probably so much more that other people are feeling that we haven't even listed here yet,
Yeah,
that might be going through or experiencing currently.
yeah,
So it's just about understanding that whatever you're feeling is really valid, and it's
yeah.
important.
It'd be good for people to sort of just look at what the common trauma reactions are so that they can
Mhm.
gain an understanding. So if they are feeling a certain way, have a look up at the common trauma reactions, and just it will help validate those feelings and help you feel more secure in what you're feeling. Um, And I suppose with children, if they're seeing all this coming through from the adults, it's offering some form of reassurance and reassuring loved ones as well. The adults, you know, if
Yeah.
your husbands or wives or grandparents are starting to feel a little bit anxious, offering
Mhm.
them some reassurance can sort of help to dissipate those anxieties and keep
Anxieties,
it
yeah.
on a manageable level. Um,
And sometimes it's about understanding that I feel like everyone's is feeling a level of anxiety around. You know, I don't think we've even gotten over the trauma of the pandemic yet and the trauma of COVID yet. So this is just like a double blow almost.
yeah,
So, you know, everyone's feeling something.
yeah.
I'm guessing.
So how do you think that could represent, pass it down to the children? What do you think children are going to be feeling with regards to the things that they're seeing and hearing in the media? What would what do you feel their thoughts and feelings may be about what they're seeing?
Mm. I definitely feel like there's definitely going to be lots of worry and concern about, like, just like the adults as well. Is Britain going to get involved? Is it going to be a World War III? You know, do we have to fight wars? Is it going to be like what we see on the TVs and the movies? And you know, there's all this worries and anxiety around that, but also just like within families as well, like you said, about finances and actually people worrying about that just as much as, you know, feeling safe within their own homes and walking down the street and doing normal family activities because they're thinking, oh, are we going to have to, is there going to be like a alarm or a bell? Do we would have to hide? Are we going to get bunkers? You know,
Mm,
there's just a lot of worries in children. Also, like, just the balance with school now as well, when school trying to pressure them as well now, trying to kind of push them to catch up with the 2 years that they've missed out as well. That's a huge factor as well. It's
mm,
almost like they can't process both of them at the same time. It's quite difficult for some children more than others, but there's definitely a level of pressure from both ends. Or be okay, everyone's going to be fine. We're not going to get involved in the war, but you know, we're kind of involved, but we're not involved. There's a lot of news, you know. If our children come and tell me some certain news, I'm like, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if it's true or not. Because
mm,
even as an adult, I can't confirm or deny. You
yeah,
know, and it's so difficult because it's almost like, so then who do I trust?
yeah,
Um, who do I trust if the things that I see on TV? So they start doubting themselves or doubting other people. There's a lot of it's it's a big picture. It's a
yeah.
big picture.
It's a lot of things for a child to process, isn't there?
Hmm.
Because at the end of the day, they'll have certain misconceptions about what the war may be.
Yeah.
They may have heard stories from their parents, grandparents about the World War II and what that was like for them, and all the rationing and everything else. So that they'll
Yeah.
have these images in their head, and they've probably all seen old war films or seen old pictures of war. And to them, hearing that word war, that might be what comes to their mind. So we just don't know what they're thinking and what
What
they're
they think.
feeling with regards to the
Yeah.
words that they're hearing and the images that they're
Mhm.
seeing. So I suppose as parents and carers, it's about asking them and not
Yeah,
presuming what they're thinking
definitely.
and feeling, or not presuming what they know. They might not really know an awful lot, but they might have picked up on so much that you're not aware of as well. So holding that conversation with them and
Yeah.
just starting that conversation and say, have you heard anything about what's going
Mhm.
on in other countries? And just asking the questions, ask
Mhm.
what they know, and then ask if they can describe how that makes them feel. And then sort of you can then decide how to reassure them. But until you
Utilize
know,
it together, and I feel like adult, especially sometimes parents sometimes feel like they can hide their emotions or feelings from children, but children are so clever at reading emotions. You know, I've been in the room with a client, and there's just immediate that client understands what I'm feeling or my facial expression or the way I say something. That might pick up something that actually that's exactly how I'm feeling, or that's what I'm thinking about, or that's what I'm associating this whatever's going on right now too. So they're actually really clever at picking up signs and emotions and feelings. So just being honest as well, as honest as you can be and as age appropriate to that child. Because I feel like children understand more than they let out sometimes to be, or sometimes more than adults understand. And I think it's better having a conversation with them than for them to create their own fantasies about the situation, about what's going on. Because sometimes they might be getting all the information from their friends,
Yeah,
you
true.
know, and, and they really believe that this is what's happening, or this what's going to happen, or this is really real, because to them that's their reality right now, and that's what's going on for them right now. So
Yeah,
definitely having a good understanding, and talking to them and listening is really, really, really important. Just
yeah.
hear them out to they speak to whatever they want to speak, and then you guys can figure it out together. But listening is really, really important.
Age appropriation's a good topic as well. I mean,
Yeah.
for younger people, I mean, you can't shield them from everything, but for younger children, if you can be careful of the conversations that you're having around them, and be more mindful of the kind of media that they are exposed to, it's a
Yeah.
little bit easier with younger children to do that. With the older children, you've got no control over it. Most of them have got phones, they're all on there, they're seeing it all splattered all over the place, aren't they? And they are talking about it. So for younger children, it's a little bit easier to monitor what media interaction they've got. But
Mhm.
it's also like for the younger children, offering more reassurance, and young kids just need to feel safe, don't they? They
Yeah.
need routine, they
Mhm.
need safety, they need reassurance, and they need to know that um, if they are feeling certain things, or if there's something that is concerning them, that they're able to express that, and they need that channel opening.
Mhm.
But whereas the older children, you can have that conversation with them and talk to them in a more adult way, and
Mhm.
give them, make sure that you can tell them more, I suppose, and clear up any misconceptions they've got
Yeah.
about, what's happening, and make sure that they understand, like you say, that some you can't always trust what media you're reading.
Mhm.
Just
Mhm.
because it says it in certain newspaper, it doesn't mean it's
Yeah.
true. So it's
And
giving them the knowledge that they can do their own research, and
research.
to be aware um, of how media isn't always the truth, the
The
gospel.
truth. And I think as parents as well, sometimes you can do it together. Sometimes you just say if you don't know, you don't know. It's like, okay, let's look it up then. Let's do it together. Let's see what we can find, or even find other ways to get information with the child. So then, if they do have questions and stuff, they will feel comfortable to come to you then, because then you can do it together as
Yeah,
well. You don't have to shy away from it as well. Sometimes children hide or don't say certain things because not that they don't want to, because they don't have the vocabulary to actually express that, I don't really understand this. Because
mm,
as a child you want to understand everything, and you want to know everything, and you want to be okay, and you don't want to disappoint people, and you want to be this good child, and you want to confine, and you know order the ordinary things. Sometimes it's difficult for them to actually be like, do you know what, actually I don't know, actually I don't know how I feel, actually I do feel this, or I feel this, I feel that, especially if they're used to being known the good little girl, the good little boy,
yeah.
and to confine to that as well. So sometimes just having these conversations with them and breaking that.
Yeah, I think that's a really useful tip again there, Samira, in terms of doing it together, because I
Mhm.
think if you are sat together, it enables, when they are looking at it, for them to ask questions.
A
Whereas
safety.
if they were
Yeah.
looking at it on their own
Mhm.
and they had questions, they wouldn't have that person with them straight away to say, "Oh, but what
Yeah.
about this? What does this mean?"
You got to think about it as like an emotional regulation as a parent. You being there for, if you do it together as a blanket, as a
Mm,
safety, as protection. Okay, if they have questions, okay, let's go through it, or let's do it together. Or actually, I don't know, or it might be this, or it might be that, or should we figure it out for next week's activity? Do it into something more fun and more uplifting. And actually, you know, after you've maybe found out really horrible news, maybe try and counter that with something really positive, and actually look at what Britain is doing, because there's a
yeah.
lot of information on that of what Britain is doing,
How
and
you
see
can help.
how you can help, who is helping. There's a lot of stories around, like really positive stories around, of people that are joining in, helping, donating, joining in. It really gets kids pumping, and a lot of kids have like drawn posters and
Mm.
put like a box together, and make it into like an activity for them to actually, okay, I've done something, I've been part of it, and I have more understanding of it, and I can contribute to whatever this is going on. I've done something positive to something that's not quite nice and not
Yeah.
really positive.
You've turned some negative emotions surrounding
Yeah,
the war into a positive feeling and making them feel good about themselves and their situation.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
like a
good
cycle
idea.
almost. And for children, that you know they've created something that's going to give them confidence, that's going to reassurance, that's going to probably build attachment and reassurance with their parents, with other family members, and maybe with society as well, and actually feeling like, oh, we are doing something, there are things being done, people are helping out. Because sometimes we see all the bad things, it's quite hard to think that there is good actually happening for children.
Yeah.
There's things happening.
Those connections and building that community and getting involved with other people who are doing the same thing adds to that safety net that
Yeah.
they need as well, doesn't
So,
it? It's that connection,
mm-hmm.
and connecting with other people and knowing that there are other people around them
Yeah,
to help them and to keep them safe.
definitely.
So, in terms of age appropriation, is there any more that you'd like to, any more advice that you'd give for any younger parents
I
to
would
younger children?
I would definitely say for parents, check out the CBBC website. I absolutely love it. That's my go-to for any updates, anything that if I've got clients that are kind of worried about that scenario, that story, I kind of go on there. It's really good information, straight to the point. They've got resources, I've got links and different articles, websites, blogs, videos. They've got all sorts of different resources. Even they've got things of, if a child's feeling anxious, how to reassure a child. And this is things you can do together, so you both can have an understanding of, okay, so they might not need what's on that website, they might need something completely different. Every child's different. You got to understand your child and actually cater to them. But that could be a good starting point as well. And for just the adults as well, there's the BACP website. There's a lot of information on there as well about how you can support yourself, where you can go, what to do if you're anxious about, the war, the news, the social media. There's a lot of resources and good stuff on there as well. So those have been my two main ones I've kind of been keeping up to date with, and I've been really good in just being straight and direct and kind of really clear to the point. And I think after even I read it sometimes, I'm like, okay. All right. Especially the CBBC website, because it really listed everything that we're doing, and it gives you dates and timestamps and who's doing what and what is happening and how much we're spending and all these different things. Because sometimes children just need that kind of bit of reassurance that we are doing something. Because
Yeah,
as a humanity, I think especially children are so innocent, and they don't want to hurt anybody. They don't want to see anybody hurt.
yeah.
You know, want everyone to get on, and they would want world peace and all these things. Right now is really difficult time for them, and like you said, that hopelessness, is it's being lost in them, kind of like, oh, what's the
Yeah, definitely.
point? There's so much bad things going on around the world.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really good.
So how would you what would you say to try and foster a bit of resilience in children and young people? How would you advise parents to help build that resilience in them?
um I would say by speaking to them, speaking to them on a daily basis, maybe even keeping a journal, maybe advising for the kid to keep a journal. If they don't necessarily want to talk to you directly, they can maybe write a journal or notes or anything that your child knows is into.
Yeah, I suppose
Get
for
them,
younger children, they could
yeah,
do
especially for
picture
young,
journals, can't they?
yeah,
They can say, I want you to draw a picture of what your day's been like today. Every day, I want you to draw a picture of
yeah.
how what's happening for you today.
With children, you can make it as creative as you want to,
Mm,
especially as the younger they are, the more creative you can get. Make story time or bedtime or even before bedtime. Make it into a 6-part story. You know, if you had a magic wand, what would you do right now? Or how would you explain your feeling about hearing this in the news? Or what have you seen today? What have you heard in school today? Just
Yeah.
having a check-in with them every single day. You can do it as a family as well. I feel like the more people you have the support of, the more people understand that actually I'm not feeling like this alone.
So
Because, you know,
increasing those connections.
yeah, increasing the connection, increasing that community feeling, that community,
Mm.
a community security. I think it's really important for children, because they might go for mum and dad for different things, you know, and at that moment of time they're going to understand that mum and dad, like, regardless of who you go to, they're all there and they're all feeling the same thing. So doing it as a family unit over dinner as well. Oh,
Yeah.
what have you guys heard today? How's everyone feeling about the war? And actually sometimes children feel like parents don't feel anything. They feel like parents have no emotions whatsoever. They're doing absolutely, they're, you know, blank canvases. And
They
actually,
try to be, and they try to hide
yeah,
it when in actual
gonna
fact it's
hide it.
healthy.
When actually it's really healthy sharing that, and
Yeah.
sharing that anxiety, because sometimes children feel like they're the only ones that carrying that anxiety, that worry, maybe even that guilt of actually I've got such a good life and I'm okay and I'm safe and my
Yeah.
family's okay, and they're going through this, and actually I feel really bad about what I have and what, you know, what I'm going through and having my family. It could be
Yeah.
completely opposite. And like I've said, it can manifest in so many different ways, this feeling of, you know, this war and fear and
Yeah, you hear,
post-pandemic.
don't you, stories of like children that have grown up in households where they've thought their parents have been perfect, they've
Mm-hmm.
been very emotionally strong and emotionally stable, when in actual fact those parents have shielded their own emotions from that child.
Yeah.
But what it's done is it's given that child a complex, thinking that they need to be this perfect,
Mm-hmm.
emotionally strong person, and that anything else is a weakness, and that so that
Weakness.
they felt as though they're wrong for feeling
Mm-hmm.
anxious or depressed, or they feel like that there's something wrong with them because their parents weren't like that. But in actual fact, the truth is that their parents were feeling that way,
Yeah.
and they don't find that out until later, and
Very
they've,
so.
yeah, those thoughts are already in their mind by that point.
And you know, it's sad when that happens, because it becomes like a conflict within themselves, because it's almost like, okay, how do I feel now about certain things? And, you know, do I actually really feel like this? Is this feeling coming from somebody else? Because they've never really been allowed to express themselves and express their own feelings and thoughts. So
Yeah.
it's quite difficult. So I always say, as parents, you know, express as age appropriate and as open as you can be with your children, because you know, you rather them come to you about a certain situation than go to their friends, because as a parent you always want the best for your child,
Yeah.
you know. And
Healthy
sometimes friends,
acknowledgement of
yeah,
emotions.
and sometimes friends' advice are not that great.
No. 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 I suppose another thing in terms of building resilience for kids would be that routine. I know I sort of touched on it earlier. It's
Mhm.
another thing that's quite important, isn't it?
Yeah,
As well as being in touch with your emotions, especially younger children are very routines give them safety and security, knowing that they're constantly taken care of, and that
love,
just
yeah.
knowing that this is going to happen
Mhm.
next, and um, keeping those daily routines is quite a comfort for children. So
Mhm.
even though the world's changing around them, there's still some things that are
It's
going to remain the
remain the
same.
same, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I suppose when conflicts like this are occurring and there's a lot of trauma around, having a little bit more patience with with your children if they do start
Yeah.
acting out,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
understanding why they might be
Understanding.
doing that.
Definitely, definitely. Patience is definitely a massive thing. You know, if you're noticing different changes, approach the child. You know, they probably do not for to get a reaction sometimes as well.
Mm,
Sometimes they don't notice it themselves, and actually pulling them up can open up a conversation of different things and can have a different avenues as well. So have an open conversation rather than, you know, oh, why are you acting like this? Well, what's going on? What's happened? I'm noticing da 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 da. I'm noticing this. I'm noticing that. I'm noticing this. What's going on? Could it be this da da da? Whatever you've noticed along that week or that day or whatever scenario that's happened, you know,
yeah.
mention it to them and just say that, you know, I'm noticing that this is happening, so that they have an understanding that you are, you know, acknowledging them, that you're seeing them, and that you're feeling they're trying to get a sense of how they might be feeling or might be going through as well. Because
Yeah.
children sometimes think that nobody cares. You know, nobody cares.
Nobody cares
You
about
know,
me.
I'm all alone in this world, and that's
Mm,
obviously not the case. But sometimes they just need to hear that and that get that reassurance again. And you know, I'm here. I love you. You know, doors always open. You don't have to talk to me. You can write a letter, draw me a picture, just watch a movie together. Make it as
yeah.
creative as you can,
You
just to get
mentioned
that.
their open questions, and I think that's such a really good point because
Mhm.
even for adults, not just children,
Yeah,
but if you're saying to somebody, and especially like a child, are you okay? They're just going to say yes.
yeah.
They're not gonna elaborate on anything, or they're just going to say no. Rarely the most of the time people just go yes.
Mhm.
When really asking an open question, you're going to get more information, and instead of saying are you okay, and just I noticed this,
Yeah, no, it's just,
what's
I know,
going on,
I know.
um a descriptive question, getting them to
Yeah.
elaborate is going to be a lot more beneficial.
And especially for teenagers to be like, oh no, actually, da, da, da. And then you be like, oh, okay. So da, da, da,
Yeah.
da, da, da. And take out however it goes, or even do the complete opposite. You know, oh, I noticed you were smiling there. No, I wasn't. I'm frowning. And oh, why are you frowning for? You know, do it if they're really joking and funny. You can get that out of them.
Yeah.
Do it in a way that you understand your child. There's no limit in trying to get an understanding and trying to get them to listen, even if they're being difficult and challenging to begin with, because they might not be used to that.
Yeah.
Come back. And sometimes children do feel guilty actually, and they're like, oh, actually I shouldn't have shouted at my mom.
Yeah.
She was trying to
Should
help
have
me. And they
snapped
come
at
back
her.
and they're like, and mom actually is you know. So there's
Yeah.
different ways to it, but don't give up and listen, be patient, patient. And remember, if you're feeling like this, the child's probably feeling it 10 times more. That's what I always say.
Fabulous. Well, before we sign off, is there any other advice you want to share?
I think look after yourself, parents. It's really
Mm,
important. You know, you can't filter something down if you don't look after yourself first. So make sure you look after yourself. There's a lot of website and self-help. There's a lot of apps as well online. You know, whatever suits you best,
yeah,
make sure you look after yourself. So that, because that filters down to the children as well.
fabulous. Well, thanks ever so much for your time, Samira. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, and
Thank you
I
so
shall
much.
catch up with you sometime soon.
All
Thanks
right.
for
Thank you so
listening.
much. Take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye.